The narrative I want to push with Ferrari is how Carlos Sainz's team moves. His team moves have put him on the right trajectory, and
Mm-hmm.
he's ascended, while Daniel Ricciardo's kind of faltered, I think, on his team moves. So, like,
Yeah, I agree with that.
Carlos's last two team moves, he went from Renault to McLaren and then McLaren to Ferrari. Both Carlos and the team have thrived. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
Carlos basically led the kind of like helped usher in the revival of McLaren essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And then he announced that he was going to move to Ferrari, and like the Scuderia didn't look good last season, and a lot of people thought he was regretting his move like 3 races in. But
Mm-hmm.
now he might be leading the resurgence of Ferrari too. Like
Yeah.
he's looking really good. He's just got a podium. He's been on the team that finished best of the midfield each of the last 3 seasons actually, and he has a
Oh.
really good chance to do it again this year to make it 4 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Where when you look at Daniel Ricciardo, like he went from Red Bull winning races to Renault. That
Mm-hmm.
season, he didn't podium at all. I don't believe. The
They
next
only had
season,
one. Well, the next season, right?
yeah, the next season he had at least one, maybe two, I think. In 2020. Now he's going to McLaren, and like you might look at the points. So if you look at the points, Ricardo actually beat Carlos last year. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but when you look at the trajectory, like the overall narrative where Ricardo was winning races at Red Bull, he's by this measure he's going. I think he's going downhill a little bit, like he's faltering.
Mm-hmm.
Where Carlos has consistently been getting better and better on the points each year. You
Yeah.
know, that's kind of the narrative I was thinking about that, and then that was kind of the narrative I wanted to push. Aldas, a YouTuber, F1 YouTuber, just kind of made a video about like how Carlos Sainz might have already justified his Ferrari move. But yeah, when you
Mm-hmm.
look at Daniel Ricciardo's trajectory and Carlos's, when you look at Daniel Ricciardo's trajectory and Carlos's trajectory, they're complete opposites, I think. And it's
Yeah. I
really
mean,
interesting because Daniel's been taking Carlos's spots as well in both
mm-hmm.
instances, which is interesting,
Yeah.
right?
Do you think Daniel Ricciardo's making a mistake or made a mistake?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think the first move was obviously a mistake. McLaren to Renault. Do you think the Red Bull to Renault? Do you think
Yeah.
the Renault to McLaren is a mistake?
No,
Or
I
do you
definitely
think
think that was a good move.
okay.
Um, because McLaren are like pretty obviously on a better trajectory. They have a Mercedes engine now. Like Renault apparently was like not even sure if they were gonna be making an engine still, and like a
Mm-hmm.
year ago or whatever. I definitely think they're on a better trajectory. But yeah, like you were saying, the Red Bull move was a huge mistake, and I
Yeah.
don't think he's ever gonna get a better car than that. I don't
Not
think I
ever.
don't. I mean, not ever maybe, but certainly not in the next couple of years probably.
It's hard to
Right.
imagine a spot opening up for
Right.
him at like any top competitive team that'll like welcome him back because he's getting not getting any younger at this point.
Exactly. And yeah, I don't know like what the age drop off is like in Formula 1 compared to a traditional or a traditional an American sport like basketball or football or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like apparently Ferrari were potentially courting him, or there were talks that Ferrari was going to get Daniel Ricciardo, and like that was the best move, and then it just
Mm-hmm.
never happened. Apparently they didn't talk to him. I
Oh,
think
really?
was the story is they didn't even consider him. So I don't know what that says about the way that the rest of the paddock looks at him, but yeah, it's interesting. He needs to pick it up, I think.
Yeah.
I'm rooting
Do you
for
think?
him. I think he needs to
Uh,
pick it up.
I like him too, and but do you think he's at maybe a point in his career where he's just like on the wrong side of the hill, and he's just like sort of
Yeah.
like he had his best years, they're behind him, oh, and they're gonna uh he'll just sort of slide away after this.
I think it's too early to say. Like I said, I don't know what the age drop off kind of is like. Like Hamilton's probably. I think Hamilton's older than Ricardo, isn't he?
Yeah, I
He
think very
must be.
slightly. Yeah,
So I mean, like I don't know. Hamilton hasn't really dropped off with age. So I think
yeah.
it's. I also think Lando's getting better. Lando's getting way better. Like at this point in the season, he has 56 points. At the same point last season, he had 37. The season before that, 12. So he's
Hmm.
definitely getting better. And it's worth noting too that Carlos never started seasons well. Like this is his best start in ever actually, with 38 points. He actually got outscored by Lando at the start of the season, both in 2019 and 2020.
Hmm.
So Daniel could turn it around, because Carlos ended up outscoring Lando throughout the whole season, obviously both years. So I don't really think I don't buy like that he's too old or like too old to do it. He's just I don't know what it is though. What do you think?
Do you think there's any? Oh, what do I think? I don't know. I think it's just. It seems like there's no consistency in like
Yeah.
his ride. Like he just can't settle into any one place. And I mean, like I realize that like guys are in and out of cars like way more frequently than he is on a lot of occasions. But I mean, if you look at like the drivers who are the most successful, they're guys who have been there for. I mean, like Lewis has been a Mercedes for forever at this point. Max has been in Formula One terms and Red Bull for forever. And I think that like for a driver of his caliber, you just need a good situation to be in where you can get used to the car, get used to the team. And I mean, like some of it's just he's in less competitive cars, but I think he improved as he went on at Renault. Like you saw,
he did,
like no podiums the first year, and then some of the second year. And so I think, yeah, that's partially to blame. But sort of returning to Ferrari too, do you think that there's any chance that Carlos outscores Leclerc this year?
You know, I love Carlos is my favorite driver on the grid, but I don't see it happening. I think Charles Leclerc is like probably the third best driver in Formula One right now, behind Lewis and Max. In my opinion, he always, like I said, always seems to just get the best out of like crappy like material. Like you saw it last year where Vettel like just couldn't really get that Ferrari to work for most of the season, where Leclerc was able to like put it on the podiums and stuff like that. So I still think Leclerc will outscore him, but I think Carlos is getting better each year. Like he might not make as big of a jump as somebody like Max Verstappen does, but he really is just getting better each year, and it's fun to see. That's one of the reasons why I like him too. And he thrives in every situation, which is Martin Brundle brought this up. That's why he was like, I don't know if I buy the whole the car doesn't suit their driving style, because Carlos has gotten better each team he's gone to, and he's definitely not the number one at Ferrari. I don't know if he's not a number two necessarily, but he's not like the guy, the franchise or whatever, you know, what you say.
Yeah, it's not like a Mercedes situation where they very clearly are like,
right,
their eggs are in one basket.
Exactly. What do you think? Do you think Carlos would outscore Charles throughout the season?
No, but it wouldn't shock me. Like I think that's the position I'm in at this point. Like
okay.
if I'm a betting man and you're asking me to like put money on one, I'd still pick Charles Leclerc, because I just think I mean, a lot of what you mentioned, that like he does always just get the best out of the car, and he's also had bad luck. Like if it weren't for this past week at Monaco where he couldn't start, like he would be far and away ahead of Carlos at this point. Like it's only 2 points because he had to retire before the race even started this week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it wouldn't shock me. Like like you said, he gets better as the year goes on. Carlos Sainz usually does, and he's a great driver. Like, so it would not shock me. Maybe not this year, but within the next couple of years, if it's a very, very close points race between the two of them, should they both stay at Ferrari?
Say again.
I think that if they were both stay at Ferrari, it would be a very, very close points race within the next year or so.
For sure.
Just because I think, once they're used to that same car.
For sure. All right. Before we move on real quick, so how do you see kind of these drivers we've discussed, basically outside of Lewis and Max? How do you see these drivers finishing in the Drivers' Championship between Bottas, Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Norris, and Ricciardo?
So I went Bottas, Perez, Norris, Leclerc, Sainz, Ricciardo.
Okay. I was pretty similar. I went Bottas, Perez, Leclerc, Carlos. So I think Leclerc and Carlos will finish above Lando, actually. And then Ricciardo. Yeah.
What's your reasoning for that?
As I pointed out, kind of like you said, Carlos just doesn't typically start seasons very well, and this is his best start ever. And especially if Ferrari actually improves throughout the year, which I think they will. Like those big brands, like they don't stay bad for long, you know.
Yeah.
Especially for the biggest brand, right, in the sport, they're not going to stay bad for long. So that was my reasoning. Although, like, I'm not confident on the Carlos Lando order. But I am pretty confident it'll be Bottas, Perez, Leclerc. I'm pretty confident in that.